My name is Naomi Miguel. I'm a professional staff for the Subcommittee for Indigenous Peoples of the United States in the House Committee on Natural Resources, and I'm professional staff. I'm Tohono O'odham, and I come from the Tohono O'odham Reservation. When we were in the minority, the tax bill went through, but there were hardly any Native provisions in that tax bill. And it's not till after these bills get passed that Natives are even thought of. And we're like one of the direct communities that these federal policies affect. And it's not a racial preference, it's not a racial bias. This is like tribal sovereignty, and this is like a tribal government issue as well, where tribes need to be at the table to also be saying like, look, federal government, this is what we need. And we don't have that type of like liaison or nexus without people who are actually here working on them. So, and that's not to say that every Native needs to work on Native issues. It just needs to be like, well, we need to be at the table, but when we're developing these policy issues and these bills. So the chairman, in one of his priorities, and even in creating this subcommittee, is that he wants to make sure we're at the table. He wants to make sure we're having these conversations, we're putting the ideas out there, so that when these big bills are being passed, that we're not being passed over as a community. A perfect example of this is the Violence Against Women Act. The chairman had 2 amendments to that act, and it was really helpful to have Congresswoman Holland and also Congresswoman Davids here on Capitol Hill to push for a lot of amendments for Native women in the Violence Against Women Act. It was really helpful for myself because I was able to point to all the work that I did prior to this and like telling them like, look, even though this may not look like a good policy off the hand, like on the ground, it's going to have a direct impact on whether tribes can actually prosecute offenders, whether it's like for women or for children or for elders. And that was one of the amendments that the congressman put in. And that's why we need more Native staffers and Native interns, so that staff can point to it and be like, hey, look, we really do need to do something about this, or we really need to have these voices heard.